start recording here. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Let's see here. Why don't we get right into it? I sent around the minutes a couple hours ago. Hopefully, you got a chance to review them. I'd like to motion to pass the acceptance as proposed. Can I have a second on that?
Steve, your mic's a little, or I don't know if it's your microphone or your earbuds are a little fuzzy. Sound coming off. I don't know if you can hear it on your end.
Not really.
Oh, it's better.
Better, whatever you just did.
Yeah, whatever you just did.
Oh, okay.
But I'll make a second, or I'll motion, or second.
Okay. Okay, any objections? Okay, seeing none, then the motion passes unanimously. Okay, let's get ready. Mike is not going to be here to discuss on the option that the brown bag budget meeting is at 11 o'clock on Thursday at the POE conference room, and everybody's welcome. Any PTA, please pass on the information to your budget reps, and we'll everybody is welcome. Any PTA members that might have an interest are allowed to come. So, okay, so President's report. The only thing that I want to touch on today is just want to reiterate our new model that we voted in last year, and regarding the budget that we passed is that PTA Council has gone from having a budget and supplying PTAs with grants to not collecting any funding from the PTAs and being more of a collaborative facilitator for the PTAs. We are not separate PTAs by the PTA. The people, me and Katie and me, who support members, artist members, your PTAs that you insisted to lead these meetings.
Steve, it's really difficult to understand you.
Let's see if I'm just going to take this off here.
Yeah, it's much better without, Steve.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, if you don't mind, could you just repeat that last part? Because I was trying to keep up with the minutes and I could not. Thank you.
No. Okay. Can somebody say something?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a commercial somewhere in here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I was talking about the new model that we have in PTA Council, and I just want to remind everybody, because a lot of people come in and out, and a lot of people are still not familiar because they are not able to attend our meetings, that the PTA Council has gone from a body that collected funds from all the PTAs and dispersed them in the form of grants, but now we do not collect any money. We have no funding other than the dues that are paid, and those are for administrative costs. And now we are a collaborative body that helps facilitate any PTA business that you guys need us to do. So I just wanted to say, and I don't know if you heard me before, but we are not a PTA body per se, but all of us are the PTA Council. Katie and I and Courtney and Amy, all the board members are just PTA members who you guys put in charge to help run these meetings and help you with the business that you have to do. So we have, when we made this switch, we still had some funds in our bank account, that we decided and voted on to use to fulfill our obligations from the old way that we used to run business. So a couple of those, the main things that we decided on were to help SEPTA with their funding, because they don't have a real way to raise, to do fundraising like most PTAs do. And also to help with the
Scholarships.
scholarships. Thank you.
I could see you do it.
Yeah, with the scholarships that we have to help, that we've obligated ourselves to do. And we also have a little bit of a cushion there too to help with emergencies like we had last year with COVID, and so we're going to try to stick with that, especially this year as we change our model. So all the funding that we had coming in before is now just being directed right back to the PTAs that raised them. And we are here to help in any efforts where schools want to work together and collaborate their resources for any projects. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, let me know. Ask them now if you have them, or email me. But this
Can I add something? I think too, this is where COVID kind of has hindered our progress towards getting our committees together, which really supports this model. So as we run into the spring, our meetings, I think, are really going to change more to working style meetings, and the tenor of them towards what we want to see coming out of our collaboration, whether that be as small as, events for our elementary schools, all the way up to like what Courtney was helping with facilitating our high schools and our middle schools. So I think in the next few months, we'll really see it ramp up and be more of a model that we can point to the structure of, not just examples of.
Right, thank you, Katie. Courtney, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So I just want to clarify, particularly with my role. So regardless if there is collaboration, the funding needs to either come from each of the participating schools and or some outdoor, like outside, not outdoor, outside source of funding. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, we could, you could, as a, head of programming or programming facilitator, ask for contributions from all the PTAs to support a program in the middle schools. Or you can just ask the middle schools to contribute for that program. Whichever way you think might be best in whichever, and in whoever wants to contribute in that fashion. Because it might be something that down the road, the people from the elementary school might benefit from if it's a program that's ongoing. And if other schools want to contribute, they can as well. So you're not limited to the people using that program for any given year, if that's clear.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that is clear.
Okay, good.
And I think, Courtney, too, one of the appeals was the leverage that collaboration can help too. So that if instead of one school going out and soliciting a speaker, you could have 7 schools, and hopefully you could reduce the cost for schools, the more you can get people to participate as a whole. But I think you know that, obviously.
Okay.
But for our other members.
So it might just be for everyone to think about then, to like planning in advance. We might need a little more lead time. So later on our part of the agenda, we could talk a little bit more about, we have several things to talk about in the program, some of which I forwarded to you all ahead of time. And then the One Book, One Town initiative that some of the equity and inclusiveness groups are wanting to highlight with the middle schools. when Rachel and I spoke, we said, maybe it is something that we plan in advance, more in advance next year, and trying to work with some of the community partners in that way. I just think that the collaboration in terms of if we're looking for funding outside of the PTAs, that we will need additional lead time for that kind of initiative.
Yes, and I think there's also going to be a learning curve for the PTAs as well, once they find out how much money they're receiving each year from their picture money, because that's not something that all of them are accustomed to look for. So once they have a grasp of what they're getting in funds every year, they'll be able to budget appropriately for the year to come, and so forth. So that and it's going to take a little bit of learning on everybody's part.
And if I can just pop in, I just want to mention that please consider Fairfield Cares as a potential funder. We have the Drug Free Communities grants that I'll be needing to write the second year of that grant work plan. Unbelievable, in April. I feel like we've just gotten started. We also have our local prevention council grant money, as well as the state opioid response. Now, mind you, the LPC and SOR are generally drug related, and so looking to middle school, high school populations. The Drug Free Communities grant, however, has a little bit more flexibility while we're focusing on alcohol and marijuana, but also the underlying mental health root causes. So, and that's true, I would say, for the LPC, which is focused on vaping this year. It was focused on vaping last year. I think it's going to be focused on vaping next year. So there is some flexibility in these grants. So if you have some ideas that you think are related to, healthy youth development as they relate to substance prevention work, please be in touch with me, because I think Fairfield Cares could be a resource.
Thank you very much, Kathy, and yeah, that's very much appreciated. And I hope that we're shooting for our March meeting to focus on our partners like Fairfield Cares, and hopefully you'll be able to get a lot of people from your PTAs to participate, to see what is available to you and the resources that our community has to offer. So thank you again, Kathy, for that. Okay, anything else from anybody regarding that topic? Okay, why don't we move on? Let's see, Christine, would you like to give us a BOE report?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's January, so the BOE is going to be knee deep in budget for the next couple of weeks. We have a meeting tomorrow. We're going to start, going through. The board has been reviewing. We received the presentation at our meeting last week. In case you have not heard, the superintendent is proposing a budget with a 6.22% increase. One of the big drivers this year is, as always, salaries and benefits. Our teachers, maintenance of our buildings is 2.93% of the budget, an increase in special education, 2.51, instructional supplies, materials, 0.57, and then just instructional services, contracted services, other purchase services, supplies, capital, dues and fees makes up 0.21% of that. I won't get too far into it in that I'm still going through it myself, and the superintendent is hosting the brown bag this Thursday. I encourage you to watch our meeting tomorrow, to follow along on this process, and if you can, attend the brown bag. The Board of Ed has a budget page. If you're not familiar with it, it's on the Fairfield Public Schools website. The budget is posted there. The presentation is posted there. And any Q&A that comes out of the board's deliberations over the next few weeks, the questions and answers will also be posted on that page as a resource for your PTAs. if you have questions about the budget and how it affects your particular school, I would suggest that you reach out to your principals as PTA liaisons and just to get an idea of what their priorities are. In terms of advocacy, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but in terms of if your PTA does want to support the budget or make recommendations, we welcome, feedback from you, either as parents or just your PTAs can take a vote and make a statement. I'm losing this. Just to share your feelings about the budget. And that's really what our agenda is going to be like for the next few weeks. We're still, dealing Omicron kind of through the beginning of 2022 for a loop. I'm looking at the numbers last week. It seems like we're heading in a downward trend. So everybody keep your fingers crossed. You've been getting the communications from the superintendent, and as the numbers go down, you start trending down. Some of the restrictions that were put in place, over the last 2 weeks will hopefully be easing up. The goals for everybody is just to get everything, as close to normal as we possibly can, while still keeping everybody in school. I don't need to tell you, your parents, how challenging it's been. I'm really right now just happy to take any questions from you guys.
Go ahead, Katie.
Christine, can I ask one just because I've got it from members of my
Yeah.
our membership, and just to ask it publicly. So I know that the emergency powers extend through the beginning of February. What I guess people have been asking just what happens when those expire on either end.
I'm hesitant to say what exactly, because I don't know. They will expire, but it could fall down to the town to make the decision. Or the state legislature could get involved. They're going to be in session again. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in terms of what it's going to look like in a month, because a month, right before Thanksgiving, I thought things were going to look very different than they did as we were heading into Christmas break.
So for parents, just on either end, it's not as if those come in and mass just are gone that day automatically, I guess was the question some people have been asking.
I don't want to say that when the executive order ends, masks are going to be gone automatically, because I don't know what's going to come from the state level, and I don't know what's going to happen in terms of where we are, in terms of COVID. I mean, it's a virus, it changes. I hope that in a month, we're in a much better place. I think that we're all getting very, very tired of the masks. And not something anyone is really enjoying. Right now, it's still the Board of Ed and the superintendent doesn't really have much of a say in whether or not they need to be worn in school, because for the next month, they still do. I'm
No, thank you.
hoping.
And I think it was more like a procedural question that people are kind of, that date used to be so far out and now it's not. So I think people have just kind of been throwing that day around. So I just wanted to kind of clarify with you and throw it out there.
Well, I mean, the superintendent has made in a month and a half ago, pre-Omicron, that he is not looking to extend the mask mandate, that if there's not a mandate from the state, he's hoping that that can be lifted. I don't want to commit to that from him.
No, of course not. And like I said, the question was more of a procedural, I think, than a, what was going to happen.
Yeah, just the board has COVID policies, COVID-19 policies. Those are set to expire at the end of January right now. So that'll be on our agenda at the end of the month, whether or not the board wants to move those forward. Not going to make a guess on how that will play out, just because things have changed so much in the last few weeks.
No, thank you, Chris. It's an ambiguous question. I appreciate even delving into the.
I mean, I'm just going to say that the goal is to return to as much of a normal environment for our kids and for our teachers as possible. But we also, the priority is to keep kids in school and teachers in school and for everyone to be safe and healthy. I'm really thankful looking at some other districts across the country that have just been dealing with staffing shortages. Thankful that our kids are still able to go to school. And I'm hoping that we're past this peak and that things will start looking better in the next week and 2 weeks.
Thanks, Christina. I appreciate it.
And yeah, and anything that you're hearing, please reach out to me, what you're hearing, because the school district has been, the health guidance keeps on changing. We got information from the state on New Year's Eve at like 7 o'clock. The health department's trying to figure out about it. Even when kids went back into school on Tuesday, still didn't have a lot of questions for this date. The Department of Health, State Department of Health call was Tuesday morning. So still trying to get answers. I think that we've gotten some answers, and thankfully the data is improving. But I know it's tough. I know it's tough, and we all want stability right now. We want stability for our kids. But things keep changing. So I thank you for your patience and your openness to be flexible, but I also know how hard it can be at times. So thank you.
No, thank you, Christine. Like I said, it's an ambiguous, I think everyone's kind of living with the same feelings all over. So thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Katie. Any other questions? Okay, well, you're sticking around, right, Christine?
I am. I may go off camera though.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Courtney, Courtney, as you heard, is our programs coordinator at PTAC, and I'll let you have the floor. Take yourself off mute there.
Sorry about that. As you all should have received in an email from me, there's a couple of free opportunities, so we don't have to worry about funding for these. Free opportunities, particularly geared toward the middle school age parents, high school age parents, and possibly late elementary school age parents. One is a program called Creating Lasting Family Connections, which is an evidence-based workshop series that is provided free of charge by an organization called Inspire Inc. And it is a 5-week, 90-minute sessions geared toward helping parents to communicate with their children, to create strong, family communication, how to express feelings, how to be self-aware. Is Katie on? Katie Flynn from Roger
I'm
Ludlow?
here. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
right
hi.
here.
Hi.
Hi, Courtney.
I meant Andrea Flynn. I'm sorry. Are you with, it's Andrea Flynn that's with Roger Ludlow, correct? Is she on? I believe that Roger Ludlow is interested, and
He's not on right now.
okay, and they are going to move forward hopefully with sessions starting the end of January. These will be via Zoom because of the current situation. So in particular, if folks from Tomlinson and Woods are interested in making, this aware, making your parents aware of the availability of this program, it would be good if we could coordinate with Katie and Lauren. It would be starting, I believe, the last week of January. I can send you the specifics. I don't know that they filled it up at Roger Ludlow. I will, along those lines, I will ask, so when we're trying to coordinate programs, if you are interested in moving forward with something that involves an outside organization that we're trying to collaborate with, if you could just keep me in the loop on any communication, or when you do schedule a program, that way we can try to bring in as many parents from as many different schools at one time. That would be really helpful. And the second, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just throw in here? This is Christy Vitale from SEPTA. We actually worked with them a couple of years ago and did a tailored program that they did for our special needs parents.
Oh, great.
kind of changing some of the topics a little bit just to structure more around what the special needs parents might ask.
Yeah.
And two things that I would recommend out of that is whatever the limits are for the groups, that's really important, because the feedback from families, and I'm sure it would be this way in a typical setting as well, was that the real benefit is from being able to explore personal situations
Okay.
with the group, and being able to do that with a smaller group is really, really helpful. So I would encourage, if obviously if there's not enough people to obviously go across middle schools, that's a great idea. But if you have a little more interest at each school, even 5 or 6 people in a group like that, the value they can get out of a small group experience
Oh, yeah.
is enormous with that particular session.
Yeah. And she had said, you know, they can do a small group. I think it's a point where, like, if with Zoom, if they've reached a limit, she has a partner who will do, like, they can run parallel, they can run 2 programs at once across the middle schools, maybe on a different night or something like that.
At Fairfield,
I asked how many were in the group when you?
Ours topped out at 5.
Okay.
We have a hard time getting people to do anything, so
Okay.
we feel
And
good
so
about that.
they didn't find 5 to be too much.
Oh, okay.
Did they find 5 to be too many?
No,
or-
no, they didn't. That's what
Okay.
I meant, is they felt that that was perfect. I think that a few other people had signed up and not come, and they fed back that that really was the right amount to feel comfortable. And then the other element was committing to the whole 5 weeks,
Yes. Yeah.
so that you really get that connection. And,
Right. Sorry, I keep moving.
but it's an amazing program.
I know
Yeah.
that at Fairfield Ludlow High School, we've had them, Lauren or Nancy would actually come to the PTA meetings and give everybody an overview. And then the feedback that we got back from our parents was just incredible. So that,
Yeah.
if you're interested, or you're not too sure about if your PTAs are ready to commit, just call them up and ask them, invite them to a PTA meeting. They'll go over the whole thing with you, and everybody will know exactly what they're signing up for.
And they've been doing this program with Ludlow and Ward, generally in person, last year via Zoom, for a number of years. And I know that they would like to be, to participate in the March meeting that we have with the community partners. So.
That's good.
Can I ask what age groups they expand to?
Well, their program, if you look at their materials, it says teens and preteens. And I know they like to do, or when Lauren and I spoke, she said that they would prefer to have separate programs for middle school age parents than high school age parents. You know, I know, Kathy, we've talked about that. That will be the same kind of process with the body image. There's just different issues that people are facing with the middle school age children than the high school age children. Now, it could be, you know, that parents of 5th graders could participate in with.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, we're seeing so much of that expansion of middle school issues kind of creeping into our 4th and 5th graders, probably because of just surely the lack of time online and all the things that probably would wait to start, I think, in a pre-pandemic world. And the reality is our elementary parents are really screaming out for support too. So I think it could be something.
And I think they'd be willing to, you know, they're willing to work with anyone. They're very generous in that way. So if the middle school, I think we're talking like 5th, 4th, 5th. I don't think the program that they're doing is really geared towards the younger elementary. That's the sense I get from reading their materials.
A lot of it is, the evidence-based is based in alcohol and drug awareness as well, which is something that we edited to a part instead of the full focus when we did it with special needs parents. We talk more about, you know, anxiety and other things like that. So really, when you can get an opportunity to collaborate with them to look at their materials, obviously they don't want to tailor it, you know, every single time, but really look at, and you can identify some things that would resonate more with a different age group.
What a model to know that they've been able to diversify
unfortunately,
themselves just across our population. Hear from you and middle school now, it's pretty amazing.
I think the anxiety component is such a driving force for any of those behaviors that we're talking about. And the issue is definitely very prominent and becoming more prominent at, elementary through all ages. So I would imagine that a good bit of time will be spent on strategies for addressing anxiety and talking about anxiety. Yeah. All right. Does anybody else have any questions on the Inspire program? And feel free to reach out to me later or to Lauren directly. Her contact information is in the email that I sent out. And then the second program, and I'll let Kathy talk more about this, is a program that is made available to us through Yale, their Teen Power program, and it's focused on body image, body awareness, healthy eating, the influence of social media on developing healthy body image. You want to take it, Kathy?
Yeah, that was all based on the feedback that we got from a previous PTAC meeting. And it so happened that Janet Leidecker had reached out to me just to let me know about this Teen Power program that she runs. And we would love to do it in person. So maybe looking to a time when we can actually convene in person, because it's, I think, the kind of thing that you want to have a dialogue, right? You want to have a conversation back and forth. And that too can be tailored based on the age group of, the kids who would be participating, or the parents of the kids who would be participating. Certainly upper elementary and middle school, I think, could go hand in hand, the body image, the social media. And then I think the high school kids are definitely in a different place. So we would definitely, I think, want to have at least 2 different age groups, but it's all free. And the focus can be, if you want more emphasis on the eating disorder rather than the social media, or you want more social media than eating disorder, or want to see a balance, that would be helpful to know, and we can provide that feedback to Janet. So that's kind of where we are. And as I said, we would love to do it at a time when we could actually meet in person and, have the ability to have a dialogue. So that's about it about that. So any comments on,
Kathy, I just wanted to add that although the program, the initial workshop would start with parents of these age groups. If you go on the website, you'll see that they do have programs with teenagers. So correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, but I do believe that Janet said this could be with interest expanded past the parent workshops initially into, if there was a teen group that wanted to meet either with or without parents to discuss some of these issues.
Right.
That would be a possibility. And I believe she said at least February is going to be via Zoom. I think she anticipated, like, it's not written in stone, but she believed at least through next month.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, any other questions?
I think Hannah has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just one quick question. For more information, should we contact Kathy for the Yale Teen Power? Should we contact you, Kathy, or reach out to Yale?
You can contact me. I'd be happy to get in touch with Janet on your behalf, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hannah, did you receive the email that I sent with the link? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I just found it. I couldn't find it in my email. I know I received it and I was scrambling to find it, but yes, so I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. I mean, certainly reach out to Kathy. I just wanted to make sure you had the initial information.
Yeah, thank you.
If not, okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Courtney. Let's see here. Next, Katie. I know we've got a lot of stuff going on, but I think we touched on a lot, but
I think we've kind of, I'm basically piggybacking off of kind of what we've been discussing. I know we all kind of had that December where it slowed down and we were like, okay, it's going to be the holidays and then we're going to kind of kick into gear for spring. And I think a lot of our PTAs were like, wait, and everything slowed down and kind of stopped again. So I know I personally have heard from a lot of presidents who are concerned and nervous and trying to kind of figure out how to navigate the next few months a little bit differently, I think, than they thought we might have been. So I'm even more excited that our February 21st meeting is going to be a working evening meeting. We have reserved the Board of Ed conference room. Obviously now that's contingent to the health data and where things are going, but that's the plan as of now. So during that meeting, I think it's really twofold. I think one thing we've heard consistently over and over is that the value of PTAC is the connections of PTAC and getting us all together in one room to really ask each other questions and feel that collaboration and that face-to-face connection with people is very important. And I think that that model needs to kind of get kicked off very quickly. And then secondly, to continue this collaborative work. What Courtney has begun and our equity team with One Book, One School is really laying out this model for how it can work moving forward. And this is all before we even have committees formed. So I think once we really get people focused on where they want to help and who we can connect them to help with, then all the pieces start to fall into place. So continue to look out for the agenda and the invitation for that meeting. As I said, obviously health data can affect that, but we're hopeful it won't. And our March
Is that
meeting.
going to be evening, Katie?
Yeah, so we were going to do the evening meeting versus the daytime because we had done the October working meeting during the day. So we were going to do this meeting during the evening. I think I have it. It's an earlier start time than this. I think I requested the Board of Ed conference room at 6, so we can adjust the time. I'll send an email out to kind of get a gauge, but that was the goal for February.
Great, yeah, we want to include as many people as we can.
Absolutely. And then the March meeting will also be with our partners. So I think the next 2 months really are gonna, as I said, there's a lot going on. And I'll plug too, please attend the Brown Bag Budget if you haven't before and you feel comfortable on Thursday. It is the best way to really see the budget, to get a feel for the budget and ask questions about the budget. So I highly, highly encourage everyone to attend if they are able to. That's really it for me. If anyone has any questions or things they want to see in February, please let me know. And that's it.
Thanks, Katie. Kathy, do you have
Kathy.
a question for?
Quick question, yeah. So when are you hoping to develop the committees and which?
So I
what
think that
committees
that's
do?
ideally February. Ideally, we want to form the committees as we have the people in the room. And I think when we had our first working meeting in October, we were hopeful that we would meet in person a lot more before as things moved on, and that just hasn't consolidated as well. But that will be the goal.
Thanks, Katie. Courtney?
Has there been any more thought, or will we be discussing in February some form of platform where we can share, like beyond Facebook, where we can share more documents and tracking, whether it be like I've been thinking about this, and I'm happy to even kind of draw something up if people are interested. I could get your input to it, but it could be like a Google spreadsheet, but then I know that in order to edit that, you need to have a Gmail account. So I wasn't sure if that would be accessible to everyone, but I mean, ideally, I think it would be nice if we could have some sort of shared platform where people could input programs that either they've done or they're interested in doing. So if it's a past program, people could then like find out information about like, would you repeat this? Would you recommend this program? Would you recommend this speaker, et cetera? Or if they're interested, they could, it would be an opportunity for coming together to like find out what people are interested in and what they've done. And it could be, across programs, it could be across fundraising, maybe not everything, but, certain topics that we could have a running spreadsheet, and then that could be used to carry into the next year. So we're not starting over from scratch every year as people come and go or move on to, the next school or
I
graduation.
mean, the people move with programs, as we've said, or programs move with people. We can track you all. Yes, so our intent right now is to, we had similar concerns. Steve and I had a meeting in December, I don't even remember at this point, about the concerns about Gmail. And after continuing to do some research, I can't really find anything that's as optimal as that in terms of having an email address for PTAC and then attaching a drive onto it so we don't lose it with people. So I think that is going to be our go-ahead plan as of now. But if anybody is a better tech savvy person than me that has any thoughts or has any fluency, I have a little bit of fluency with Dropbox, but once again, I get nervous that things travel with people, not with programs. So I would hesitate away from that because it would be attached to a person unless we attached it to PTAC. But I think in my experience so far in the past few years in PTA, I think that a Google Drive is the most optimal. People can edit in that. You can utilize sheets and documents and all sorts of things. But once again, if anyone has any other thoughts, I'm completely open to it on that front.
Yeah, and also, we did this once with Google, and we had a Google Drive, and every PTA had a Google email addresses, and it cost us a fortune, and nobody was using it, or 2 people were using it. And so we kind of got rid of that. But like you said, all those email addresses, sometimes they moved with the people, sometimes they didn't move with the people. Some people just, when they come in, aren't as tech savvy. And I know that was a couple of years ago, and more people are more fluent with Google Drives and everything else like that. But it is. I mean, I think that perhaps at this meeting, if we can open up the floor to as many ideas, we'll put it on the agenda to see what else people might be able to bring to the table on a way to share things that is not, a wide open social media type thing. We'll look into that. It's
I think to touch on what Steve, the more I'm talking to presidents as the year goes on, it's funny, you pick up like little tidbits where you're like, oh, you do it like that. And you kind of are like, oh, that works well. And I feel like there are so many of our PTAs that are really utilizing communication well, or utilizing tech better than others. And I think we really have a lot to learn from each other, and that ultimately it helps in these shared resources, that if we do have a drive or a place where this stuff can be shared, it can be a resource for everyone, not just a resource for PTAC, if that makes sense. Everyone is PTAC. I think that's what we need to get to, is that I keep even saying it myself and catching myself. We all are PTAC. So hopefully it'll be a place where we can share. But yes, Courtney, I am actively working on it. My non-tech savvy self.
Great. And I'm not tech savvy myself either. So I look forward to February for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Anything else for Katie? Okay, let's see.
There's Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Sorry, I don't know if this is for Katie or Courtney or both of you, but I just wanted to ask about One Book, One Town for a second. Courtney, I guess I'm curious if you've heard from anyone at Tomlinson about that, because I tried to get some traction going on that and I didn't get anywhere with the PTA presidents. I did contact my children in 7th grade. I contacted their language arts teacher, and she was enthusiastic, but she's new and young and sort of answers to the LA coordinators. I know Tomlinson does have an active, beloved community, but I'm just curious if, involvement, if there's any way to spread involvement beyond that specific group, or awareness. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Courtney, you go first and then I'll give a small bit.
I was just gonna say, I haven't heard directly from anyone at Tomlinson. So, and I don't want to speak for Rachel. Rachel, are you on?
I am. I'm
okay.
on.
So I didn't really cover this in program because I believe Rachel, you're on the agenda. Am I correct? Or Jennifer is on the agenda?
Jennifer Elwood.
Okay.
But
okay. I wasn't sure if you wanted to speak to it at that time, so.
Well, I don't see Jennifer being here, so.
Yeah, I don't see Jennifer. I mean, the quick answer, Hannah, is that I've not heard from anybody from Tomlinson that I can think of. We had a call that involved a bunch of DEI reps
Okay.
and the librarians at the high
Mhm.
school and the middle schools. But maybe I think what we're going to end up doing this year is just focusing on the alliance clubs, so Beloved and the Gay Straight Alliance. But
Okay.
I'll email you separately after this because I'm
Okay.
still trying to collect numbers on books to be purchased and things like that. So why don't I reach out to you separately on that,
Okay.
that one?
That sounds good.
Cool.
Rachel,
Thank
would
you.
you mind just sharing with the group sort of what your what the alliances are trying to do with the One Book, One Town, and what your goal is to, you know, try to get some more books into the middle schools for those groups and the funding needs, et cetera. Would you mind
Sure.
that? Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So what Sarah Evans and I are on the DEI committee at, well, I don't even know if we have a committee yet, but for RLMS and actually for Sherman, but focusing on the middle school, we were trying to think of a way to unite all of the middle schools. And one of the programs at the elementary level that's been so popular has been either One Book, One School or One Book, Two Schools. So we thought if we could somehow bring that into the middle schools and maybe the high schools, that would be, you know, a great way to bring literature around diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And we, Sarah reached out to the public library to see if they had any thoughts on it. And they actually said, you know, the One Book, One Town selection for this year sounds perfect for, you know, that age group and whatnot. And I listened to all of it. I really, really enjoyed the book a lot. It was very sweet. So anyway, so then, I mean, I know this is very late in the year, but we tried as hard as we could to kind of try to unite all of the DEI people at all the different schools. We were having a conversation at RLMS with our librarian, and she was very much on board with it. So we wanted to bring it to, you know, into LA and everything like that. But given the late notice this year, we decided that we would kind of scale it back, focus on the equity groups and try to see if they would be interested in hosting like a book club, and see if, you know, if this could be a program that we could get out wider. And everybody seems to be on board. The kids are very excited about the books. Now we're just trying to figure out how we can get extra copies into the libraries. They have purchased extra copies themselves, but if we could get more in, they've all agreed to distribute the books out as they would as part of their inventory, if you will. So, but the idea is next year, we plan this much earlier with them. We take advantage of the programming that they bring, the author, the, you know, they're doing a mixed media, not challenge, but anyway, a mixed media contest. Like, they do so much, and piggybacking off of them helps us to not have to outlay all the cash. And then ultimately, we would like to then donate the books that the PTAs buy on to another school that, or set of schools that may not have the opportunity to do this kind of a programming, and somehow try to connect the kids. So that's the ultimate goal. But so this year we're just trying to focus on getting hands into the kit, you know, books into the hands of the kids in the equity groups, and see how much excitement we can get from them. So that's a very long explanation. I apologize.
Do you think, I'm about to start reading the book myself. I'm wondering if the author visit, is something that could still be done. Like, I guess I'm wondering, and I can look into the library more. I'm just wondering if it's a visit that could still be applied to the schools,
So what we're trying to do is we're working with the library to try to get the visit recorded so that we can then give it to the schools to show as well.
Okay.
If it's not, because they've already had the contract with the author, if it's not something that they can get done this year, it's something that we would definitely be looking to have built into the contract for next year.
Yeah, Rachel, I
They
was
are-
about to say, could you build that into the contract moving forward? Like,
That's the
it's so
idea.
great to see the model the town is doing, and how could we kind of hop on to be a partner versus
Right.
building the wheel?
Right.
Absolutely. And they were very excited that we contacted them, and they are super on board with, adding programming or, again, trying to get the author to agree to have the visit recorded, that it could be shared to the schools. They're very much on board with that. So even if it doesn't happen this year, it's something that we're definitely looking to happen in future years. And there are some teachers that build the book into their curriculum every year.
Right.
That's not all the schools, not all the, all the LA classes, but some of them
Right.
do. And so we're trying to also, see as much, help to get that into a curriculum as much as possible as well.
Okay. I'll forward you, Rachel, I'll forward you the email exchange I had with one of the 7th grade LA teachers, because again, she's young and super enthusiastic, but she's new, so I don't think she really knows who to target. But maybe going forward, she would be a good, resource and an ally. She, with your daughter, like the 7th grade book selections so far, have been fine, but they've only read 2 books as classes. And I feel like this book would be perfect, but I realize it's kind of a pipe dream at this point in the year.
Yeah. No, agreed. I'll look forward to that exchange, and I'll be in touch.
One, funny enough, we had a whole host of emails, I want to say in late November, about one book, one school at the elementary school level. And I can't tell you, even in just a few emails, it's 11 elementary schools trying to organize and get everyone on board. Seeing the town book makes it sound like, I think having that, if we could explore with them, would they be open to having a middle school selection and elementary school selection so that the PTAs could rally around both moving forward? I think that they would have a lot of people who would be, I just know we currently have, I think of the schools I reached out to, more than half did not have one book, one school chairs. And those programs are just disappearing for certain elementary schools. So
Yeah, I mean, I
one
think
central place in the town that we could align with, I think it's a great.
yeah, Katie, I'll loop you in as well.
Yeah.
And
I've
we
been
can
watching
talk
these
to
videos, and I
Jen.
was just trying to,
Yeah,
like the bouncing ball of, like I said, I think it's all structurally gonna get there. It's just seeing all the pieces kind of coming together.
yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they would be excited to do something. They just seem very keen to partner with the schools as much as possible. So I think anything's on the table at this point, especially for next year. So
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I love more than partnering with our library, so.
Yeah, it seems like a no.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer. The moment I saw that, I was like, this is brilliant. Why haven't we done this before?
I know. I mean, thinking back, like I've lived here long enough, like I was here the year they did Wonder. Like that would have been perfect to tie into every single school. It's like, why? I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't have.
the middle, like I said, the speakers coming to Sacred Heart, we're kind of touching all these community partners
Right.
before we've even, intended to. So like I said, thank you for modeling all this work, especially Courtney and Rachel. And I know there's a lot of people. I know Christine.
Go ahead, Christine, if you want.
Just asking if has your principals been helpful in this process? Because to some extent, I think that, I think staff could be helpful, either going to someone in central office, or the principals working together, and especially if it's in terms of, one book, one school, or two schools doing the same book. You might get further if you get staff to help with this.
Meg
know that-
Tiley was super supportive.
Yeah.
We brought this up to her and she was very supportive. And so, I mean, I think we just, we model it at RLMS with the equity groups and we kind of say, hey, guys, we did this pretty successfully. Jump on board.
Rachel, have you heard from the Tomlinson equity groups? Which would be Victoria Kwan and McHugh. I can't think of her first name.
I've got Molly McHugh.
Molly.
Yeah,
Molly.
Molly is all over this.
Yeah, Molly's
Okay.
involved.
Yeah. So.
Okay, good.
she's-
I just want
she's lovely.
someone from there to be involved, and I knew it
Oh,
would be
yeah.
the two of them. So, okay.
Yeah, actually, Molly is the next person I'm supposed to chase.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, next up is the Equity Committee, Jennifer Elwood. I see that Jennifer's not here. Is there anybody here from her committee that has anything to share? No, okay. And Jane couldn't make it either for our treasury report. So does anybody have anything before I move to close the meeting? I just want to reiterate what Katie said, the brown bag lunch. I know, when I know most of you guys have been around the block when it comes to PTA for a long time, but for me, this meeting was the one really that connects all the dots for me. It really kind of pulls things together, and if you can get a message out to your members, this one's really worth it. It's it's specific to the PTAs, value your feedback, and it's really a worthwhile hour or so of your time.
Steve, can I actually ask a question just for members that are here? How many do you know if your school currently has a budget rep? I'm just curious.
I know Sherman does.
I know we do at Burr.
Okay.
Dwight does as well.
It seems like most of the elementary schools do that I spoke to, but I was just curious if we can, like we've talked about, maybe fill in a stopgap for some budget information through email, at least for our schools that don't have reps, to get this information out. So maybe I'm going to do an email this week, Steve.
Great, that's great. Okay, 8 o'clock. So unless anybody has anything else they need to say, I'm going to move to close the meeting at 8 o'clock p.m. Now, let me see if I can get a second out of anybody here. Oh, there we go. Erin, thank you. Okay, any objections? Seeing none?
No.
Unanimous.
Oh, Steve, a bunch of people had questions about links. So in the chat, there's a link to the superintendent's budget presentation, the budget, one book, one school at the Fairfield Public Library. So just take a minute to check out the links before you click out.
Back up for a minute.
Okay.
Sure. I usually post the recording of this on YouTube, and I send out a link for that. I'll include the links to that as well next time.
That'd be great.
And for the budget, I mean, even if you can't go through the whole book, I would suggest just looking at the targeted enhancements, just to see what the new initiatives are for next year's budget. The middle school schedule changes in there. I see a lot of middle school parents on there, just to understand, what this budget is funding. I mentioned the special ed costs, but there's some, money in there for equity work, for social emotional learning, school block. Not a lot of big maintenance projects, but one at Tomlinson right now, one at Osborne Hill, And I'm blanking on the other big one, but it's in there. So just take a quick scan, and definitely, I hope to see some of you on Thursday. I'm going to make another plug. It's a real great opportunity for you to ask your questions and just get your questions answered by the superintendent. So hopefully I'll see some of you then. Thanks,
Great.
Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Steve.
guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
You too.